Hi everybody, welcome. This week we're going to be doing my top 5 favorite books of all time. Forewarning, I like older books, so I think the most recent one is from 2015. So they're a little bit older, but they're really, really good, and if you just give them a chance, I know you'll love them because they're fantastic. Also, they're not going to be in any particular order because I couldn't rank them. That was just like way too hard. It was already hard picking 5. But yeah, here we go. So first one I'm going to talk about is Wildwood Dancing by Juliet Marillier. This one was published in 2006, I believe in July. It's historical fantasy. And what that means is it's a fantasy novel. There's fairies, there's magic, there's vampires, but it is historically accurate to what the people of that time believed to be true. It's a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, except there's only 6 girls because 12 is a lot. I don't know if you've read other 12 Dancing Princess retellings, but they're a lot. But basically we follow Jenna, who is the second eldest daughter. And her dad is sick, and so he gets sent away to Istanbul to like recover in like a warmer climate. And Jenna is basically like left in charge of like her family finances and the business and that kind of thing. Her and her sisters go to the fairy world. I think it's once a month, not every night, which I think is different from the original fairy tale. But they go and they dance in the fairy court, but like problems start to ensue when her sister, Tati, who's her older sister, falls in love with someone at the fairy court, and her cousin Chazar starts like making the moves on her. The reason I love this book, not only is it just a really great retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, but I think Jenna is one of like the strongest, most realistic like leads that I've seen in a lot of fantasy, because she's still very much a girl. She's still very much like feminine, but also is very capable and expected to be capable, which I think is a really cool kind of thing. Also, she's a middle child. When's the last time you read a book where the middle child was the main character? Not often. So I love her. I love this book. Please check it out. It is fantastic. The second book that I'm going to talk about is To Say Nothing of the Dog, or How We Found the Bishop's Bird Stump at Last by Connie Willis. I don't have the sleeve of this one because I actually got it from a thrift store, but I promise that that is in fact the actual title. Very long, very fun. This one, the genre is technically sci-fi, and that is totally true, but I think it's more like a screwball comedy more than a sci-fi, and it's only really sci-fi because there's time travel. But it's so good. So basically the premise is there is Ned, and he is an undergrad at Oxford. I think the year is 2056. I could be wrong, but in the future. And in this reality, there is time travel, but it's super expensive and not super profitable. You can't take anything to the past, from the past, or change the past. So like, they're like, no one wants it. It's useless, except for historians, because they can go back and actually see what happened instead of just reading about it. But it is hard to fund. So basically there's this lady, Lady Shrapnel, and she wants to create an exact replica of a cathedral that her ancestor met the love of her life in before World War II. And that's where it was destroyed. It was destroyed in a bombing. And so she's decided to fund the like whole history budget, the whole department, if they'll go back in time and find out all of the details so she can create an exact replica. But she's a little crazy, and she like pushes people way past their limits. And so Ned, who's been going back and forth between a bunch of different times, finally gets time lagged. And he's so time lagged that like his professors are like, he's gonna be useless. We gotta get him out of here. So they send him back to the Victorian era to do something, but Ned doesn't know what it is because he is time lagged. There's a bunch of different like symptoms, like you mishear things, you fall in love with the first person you see, you wax sentimental. It's very, very funny. But basically the only remedy is sleep. So they send him back in the Victorian era to sleep, but with a mission, but he doesn't know what it was because he misheard them. So he's just going with no clue. I like to say the real plot of this book is Ned trying to take a nap, because that's really how it feels. It has romance, it has mystery, it has intrigue. It's very, very funny. I will also say that it's full of a lot of like very like literary references, like even the title, To Say Nothing of the Dog, subtitled, or How We Found the Bishop's Bird Stump at Last, is a reference to Three Men in a Boat, subtitled To Say Nothing of the Dog. So if you're not really into literature, you won't like it, I don't think. But the characters are really good, and the mystery is fun, and just like, I love this book. I reread it like every year. So, you know, I am biased. Our next book, Crocodile on the Sandbank, by Elizabeth Peters. This book is great. It's a comfort novel for me. It's a historical fiction, like mystery. Obviously, it's an Amelia Peabody mystery, which is a series. This is the first one in the series. This one was published in 1975. It's the first one. We follow Amelia Peabody, who is a Victorian woman who has inherited her father's, like, all his money. She's now rich. And she's decided that she's going to finally visit all of the places that she's read about in her books, one of them being Egypt, which is where this book takes place. See? Pyramids. Crocodile, one of those little adventurer hats. And basically she and her like traveling companion Evelyn run into the Emerson brothers, who are archaeologists working on a dig, and through a series of circumstances, Amelia decides that she's actually the one who should be running the dig. And so she's there trying to run things and take care of things while like spooky, mummy, curse stuff is happening, and trying to figure out what's going on and who and what and why and all that jazz, while trying to preserve ancient Egyptian artifacts. The book is good, yes, because of the plot. Sure, we love it. But it's really good because of the character. Amelia is just the funniest narrator. She's hilarious. You really get to feel like you know her while reading the book, because it's first person narration, and she is just a piece of work, and she tries to pretend that she's not. She's always right, and everyone always magically agrees with her. And, like, there will be things that you can tell make her embarrassed, and so she'll skip them. Like, you just don't get to read about it. Because she's like, it was not important. And she'll just, like, move on. It feels like a very funny and exciting and interesting friend telling you a story. And that is why I love it. Her and Radcliffe's relationship, it is an enemies to lovers. So if you're into that, enemies to lovers, they have the most firecracker relationship. It's so funny, it's so good. So highly recommend Crocodile on the Sandbank. Last but certainly not least, Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. This book is so good, you guys. It's cozy. It's a cozy fantasy, lovely, wonderful, funny, like, endearing, charming novel. Mwah. If you've seen the movie, great. I love the movie. The movie's fantastic. The movie is not this book. The book is not the movie. They like took the same basic premise and then just like went in a completely different direction. So that is my disclaimer. If you've seen the movie, do not expect the movie when reading the book. They're different. Both good. I like both of them. They're just different. So I'm going to talk about the book, not the movie. This book is about Sophie Hatter, who gets cursed into being an old lady and decides to strike out on her own to seek her fortune. And runs into a wiggler outer, a man who does not like responsibility or taking care of things and just likes to have a good old time. They become roommates. And chaos ensues. There is like the whole premise of Sophie trying to figure out what the curse on Howl and Calcifer is. Because if she does, then Calcifer will break her curse. And that's like the underlying plot. But really, this doesn't feel very plot driven. You're not reading it like, what's going to happen next? You're reading it like slice of life more, even though there is definitely a plot. It drives, it keeps going, and there's a mystery, and you're trying to understand it, and there's plot twists and fun moments and stuff. But it's very much more slice of life, cozy, lovely, funny, very funny. Like, Sophie is just, she sticks her nose where she shouldn't, and she doesn't listen to anyone, and she just does what she wants and has absolutely no shame. Howl is a complete drama queen who has no bone of responsibility in his body, like literally does not think things through, does not want to do anything, is just trying to get out of all his problems. They're both characters, and they're roommates. I mean, like, essentially. And so it's very fun and very funny, and I would highly recommend it. So there you go. Those are my top 5 books of all time. Thanks for watching. Please check out the books. They're very good. Support authors. Read, you guys. Read. It's so fun. It's so good. And if you've read the books, feel free to leave a comment, or if you know me, call me. We'll talk about it, because I love them. If you haven't read them, I highly encourage you to. They're all very, very good. I've reread them all multiple times. They never get old. They're so fun. So yeah, check them out. Thanks for watching.